Okay, good morning everybody and Hazak Baruch. Thank you for joining us this beautiful Friday morning as we are studying this week a double header, Perashat Matot and Perashat Maseh. Also want to wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom as we are here on Erev Shabbat. And I also want to wish a special Chodesh Tov to everybody. Tonight is Rosh Chodesh, so please make sure that you do not forget to, number one, add into the tefillot, insert all the different additions that we have on Rosh Chodesh, whether it is the Hallel for Sfaradim without a bracha, Ashkenazim with, whether it's in the Amidah, we add Ya'aleh V'Yavo. Tomorrow we as well have Musaf, we have an extra Sefer Torah for Rosh Chodesh. So tonight is a Rosh Chodesh, it's a one-day Rosh Chodesh, beginning tonight in Arbit, ending tomorrow night. The last prayer will be the prayer of Minha. And anyone know whose yortzeit it is on Rosh Chodesh Av? Anyone know? Who passed away? I can't see what you're saying, sorry. Trying to lip read. It's actually very good. It's in this week's parasha. It's the only yortzeit in the entire Torah that we know as a matter of fact. Okay, everything else we know through tradition or whatever, Gemara, Torah, but in the text, Torah Shebechtav, there's only one date, and that is Aharon HaKohen in our Perashat Maseh, the second Perashat that we're going to read tomorrow. So it's a very long day tomorrow. We have a double header, Matot Maseh, which combined are the longest Perashiot ever read. Okay, longest combined. And in the middle of Maseh, we're going to read all the different destinations that we traveled. We spoke about that, the 42. And the Pasuk says in chapter 33, the Pasuk tells us some things that happened in some of the places, not everything. But if we here is one example. When we get to a place called Hor Hahar, which is at the edge of the border of Edom. Vayal Aharon HaKohen. Aharon HaKohen goes up to the mountain on Hor Hahar, on God's command, and he dies over there. Vayamot sham. When? Bishnat ha'arba'im, in the 40th year of the Jewish people's journey in the desert. So this was right at the end, right before we got into Israel. Aharon died at the end, Miriam died in the end, and Moshe, the three siblings, all died in the last year. B'chodesh ha'chamishi, the 5th month. Well, let's count. Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz, Av. Okay, what day of the month? Be'ehad lachodesh. Oh, so the first day of the 5th month. That is going to be Rosh Chodesh Av. That's tonight. And the Torah tells us when Aharon's yortzeit is. And the question is, of all characters in the Torah, and there were many great ones in Aharon, I'm not taking away, but why is Torah telling me specifically Aharon? The many other big rabbis that we need to know when they passed away, Moshe Rabbeinu, Avraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Yosef, all the people. Why is Torah not telling me anyone except for him? And the answer is a very important message, especially for the time of year that we are in. Rabotai, we are entering the month of Av, and we know that Aharon, what was special about him? What was his mantra? What was his specialty? If you knew Moshe, you associate with Moshe Torah, you associate with different leaders, different words. What's the word that you associate with Aharon? Shalom. Very good, Joe. Aharon was Ohev Shalom, Verodef Shalom. He loved peace. He pursued peace. Ohev et haberiyot. He loved people. He made shalom with people. When he saw people fighting, he didn't, push them forward to fight more and to persist in their fight, in their arguments. It hurt him when people fought. He was happy to see other people happy. God testifies in Aharon that when he saw his brother Moshe successful, Aharon wasn't jealous. It takes years and years and years, but Aharon was able to find it in himself to be happy for other people's success. And we know that we had in the desert 3 constant miracles. We had the clouds, we had the man, and we had the water. And each one came in the zechut of another legend. The water was b'zchut Miriam, and when she dies we lost it. The clouds was b'zchut Aharon, When he dies, we lost it. The man was b'schut Moshe. And when he died, we lost it. When we entered Eretz Yisrael, the man eventually ran out. Right? Actually, it's in Joshua. The pasuk says that the man ran out Mahorat Pesach, the day after Passover. The man finished and we had to start with new produce now. Planting and harvesting, etc. And the clouds were in the merit of Aharon. Very interesting. Why specifically Aharon? Why did he bring the clouds? I mean, everyone really needs a study. But just today, because of the Perashah and Aharon's Yortzeit, which is tonight, we're going to just study for a minute Aharon. Why specifically did he deserve to bring the clouds? So there's a few answers. The Hatam Sofer, I believe, is the one that says the following idea. To bring peace between people, promoting shalom, requires a lot of talking. Okay, any marriage counselor, therapist, to speak to them, going back and forth. And he says something very interesting, that the words that Aaron spoke created a vapor. When you speak, there's liquid, right? There's moisture. And he says it is through the vapor of Aharon that we were able to literally create the clouds that protected us. Wow. What is clouds after all? Clouds, right, is just a bunch of water particles combined. And Aharon created those clouds. But the idea of here, Rabotai, is based on what we learned in the beginning, in the middle of the book of Shemot. The pasuk says that we are not allowed to place any metal on the Mizbeach. Are we familiar with this pasuk? We're not allowed to have metal on the Mizbeach. Let me open it up. At the end of Perashat Mishpatim. No, sorry. Is it the end of Yitro? Yeah, I lost it. Yes, end of Yitro, I'm sorry. The pasuk says in chapter 20, Mizbah Hadama Ta'aseli, you should make for me an altar of earth, and you should bring on it your sacrifices. And pasuk says, Lo tivne eten gazit. We're not allowed, the pasuk says, 22, when you make for me an altar of stones, do not build them hewn, for you will have raised your sword over it and desecrated it. We are not allowed to put a sword on the Mizbeach or the stones, to cut the stones to make the Mizbeach. Why not? שהמזבח, listen to Rashi in Perashat Yitro. שהמזבח נברא להאריך ימיו של אדם. The altar, Mizbeach, lengthens a person's days. Why? You do teshuvah, you get close to Hashem, and a person could remove a decree, a verdict of death. The sword shortens a person's days. Excuse me. It would be inappropriate to bring on something that lengthens days, metal which shortens days. Okay. Ve'od. Furthermore, שהמזבח מטיל שלום בין ישראל לאביהם שבשמיים. Wow. Says Rashi, the Mizbeach brings peace between us and our Father in heaven. And therefore, you cannot bring any type of destruction, any type of calamity. No calamity is present when there is peace. V'harei dvarim kal v'chomer. What a kal v'chomer we can now learn. The following logic. If stones, which do not see, and do not hear, and do not speak, but they bring shalom between us and our Father in heaven. If that's the case, and the Torah protects those stones, there can be no sword. There can be no destruction on those stones. Imagine a person that brings shalom between husband and wife, or between two families that are fighting, relatives, siblings, or between two friends. Alahat kama ve'kama, how much more so that no calamity will come onto such a person. Wow. So someone who brings shalom is protected. The famous mashal is told of a father on his deathbed, and he tells his children, my dear children, please go out and get for me go fetch some twigs. They go out, they get the twigs, they come back. He tells them, break them. The children, they snap them in half. He says, go out and get me another twig. They all go, they get another twig, they come back. He takes the whole twigs. This time he takes them in a bundle. He hands them to his strongest son. He says, go ahead, son, break them. The son cannot. The father turns to his children and he says, so long that you are united, so long that you are together, nobody can hurt you. You will be protected. If there's shalom, you're invincible. Shalom is the protection. And we've studied last week the power of tzedakah. Tzedakah tatzil min mavet. When I give charity, I am spared from death. A person can literally save their lives with charity. Why? Because when I give tzedakah, I am now connecting myself to other Jews. I'm becoming part of the unit, part of the klal. I am now in that union. And therefore, I am protected. Even if there's death, even if there's a Satan, even if there's a malach hamavet on me, I can repel it through shalom, through giving tzedakah, through acts of charity, actions that show that I'm part of the cloud, that I'm part of the community. Otherwise, God forbid, we're vulnerable. And Aharon was this person. Aharon brought the protection to the Jewish people, not only upon himself, because he was the promoter of shalom. So Aharon didn't just bring the clouds because he was a good guy. It was specifically Aharon that could bring it. It was only Aharon that could bring it. Why? Because he was the peace lover. He was the one that worked on Ahavat Israel, on bringing love between two Jews. And that love creates a protection. It creates the clouds, the iron dome. And so when he dies, we no longer have that glue keeping us together. We no longer have that father figure of Aharon who is there pushing us to do shalom. When he dies, our hatred starts to increase for each other. And so automatically we lose our protection. And automatically the enemy comes against us. The Pasuk says right after Aharon dies in Parashat Hukat, Vayiru kol ha'edah ki gava Aharon. The people saw that Aharon had passed away. Vayivku et Aharon 30 yom. They cried over him for 30 days. Kol Bet Israel. Everybody, men and women. Whereas Moshe, only the men. Aharon, everybody loved him. The pasuk, then next pasuk, Vayishma Kena'ani. The Kena'ani, the king hears, the enemy hears that the Jewish people are there. Vayilahem beYisrael, and he starts fighting us. Right away, the day Aharon dies, we increase in our hatred of each other. Our protection goes down, and the Kena'ani hears. What did he hear? He heard that Aharon passed away. He heard that they no longer have the iron dome. They are vulnerable. I can take him down. And actually our rabbis say, if you look at the pasuk, Vayiru kol ha'edah, the people saw that Aharon died. But it doesn't say that. It says, Vayiru kol ha'edah ki gava Aharon. They saw because Aharon died. What does it mean because? So yes, we could translate the word ki loosely, that it means that. They saw that Aharon died. This is in chapter 20, in the book of Bamidbar, chapter 20, pasuk 29. Yes, we could translate it loosely. The people saw that Aharon died. But at the end of the day, the word ki literally means because. And so the Gemara says, yes, it does mean because. And the word vayiru in the Torah is written without nekudot. And it could be read, they saw, and it could be read, they were seen. The Jewish people were now visible. Till now they had the clouds, but now they became visible. Why? Because ki gava Aharon. Because Aharon died. They didn't have that reminder to love, peace, Ahavat Israel. They lost that reminder. Now, Aharon, his death, they were visible. And the Kenani kings, all of a sudden he sees, wow, I could see the Jews. How could that be? They must have lost Aharon. And he came out and he battled against us. And in this month, Rabotai, if there's one month in the entire year that we need to work on our Ahavat Israel. If there's one month that we need to ask ourselves, who is it that we are maybe a little bit upset at, or a little bit angry at, or a little bit jealous at, or a little bit annoyed at, or a little bit not so friendly with, that maybe they slighted us and they deserve to have our wrath on them. But the truth is, all these feelings are holding back the Beit HaMikdash. If Aharon was here today, he would turn to every one of us and say, turn to that person that you don't like and try to make peace. Because you know what? Everyone wants to make peace at the end of the day, deep down. Even if we are nervous, no, they don't want it, I tried. Everybody is approachable, some way, somehow. Okay, sometimes maybe it's impossible. But we have to really try working on our loving of everybody. In the month of Av, in the month that we lost the Beit HaMikdash, this is the month. And in a way, when the Torah is saying, the only yortzeit in the entire Chumash that we know, the only death that is specified explicitly is the death of Aharon. The Torah is saying, in the month of Av, Aharon passes away. Aharon's midah of shalom, Aharon's, that's his label. That was his specialty. Unfortunately, in the month of Av, Aharon passes away, and his midah of love, the midah of Aharon and the midah that he possessed, is not visible in this month, because in Av, unfortunately, there's too much hatred. It's the month that we lost the Beit HaMikdash, and that is something that we need to work on immediately. We could sit all day and talk about we want Mashiach, and we could pray and cry, and Hashem, when's he coming? Someone told me, he says, Rabbi, I want to take God, I think it's time that we all get together and we take God to court. Okay, why do you want to take him to court? That's enough. It's enough. It's enough. We've suffered enough. There's enough death. There's enough tragedy. There's enough pain. We need Mashiach. Great idea. We need Mashiach. You're right. And we're going to take God to court and we're going to sue him. Why don't we have Mashiach yet? And God's going to ask us, what have you done to bring it? Are we really working as much as we can on our ohev et haberiyot, on our love for people? And therefore, it's not by accident that Aharon dies on Rosh Chodesh Av. As we enter this month of hatred, Aharon cannot coexist with that month. Very powerful idea. And I just want to add one idea. The Perashat Matot begins with the idea of a vow. A neder, a person makes a pledge, a vow for mitzvot. It's great, but in general, otherwise, a person, actually it's frowned upon to make a neder. A person should not make vows. We shouldn't, add halachot more than the Torah. The Torah gave us 613. You shouldn't add another one. That's what a neder is. The person now says, you know what, from now on, I'm going to keep not only meat and dairy, 6 hours, I'm going to keep even meat and dairy 10 hours, right? From now on, right? And they're adding. And it's frowned upon. Why is it frowned upon? The reason is because, and this is what the Maharal says. Maharal says that, and by the way, there's only one area that we're meant to make vows. Besides, when it comes to a mitzvah, there's one specific area that we see the concept of a vow, and it's very positive to make a vow in this area. And that's when it comes to sacrifices, korbanot. Otherwise, not a good thing. Why? Why is it not okay? The answer is, anyone who makes a vow, the Gemara says, is like building a bama. You know what's a bama? A bama is a personal mizbeach that you have in your backyard. When we had the temple, they had a mizbeach there. And people wanted to, instead of having to travel all the way there, they wanted to go and to bring a korban on their personal backyard mizbeach. Why go to shul? It's raining. I could pray home. Right? That's what a bama was. A bama, I could bring a korban in my backyard instead of going to the Beit HaMikdash. A person that makes a vow is tantamount to someone who builds a bama. You know why? Because the idea is that when I make a vow, I am now separating myself from the Jewish community. Everybody keeps 613. I keep 614. Oh, I'm better than everybody else. That's not a positive thing. Everyone's doing the same thing. Why are you accepting different laws? Why are you accepting more laws? Remain part of the community. Someone who brings a bama says, I don't want to go to where everyone brings a korban. I'm going to bring my personal. That's not okay. You're not staying part of the Am Yisrael, of the nation. Stay part of everyone. Don't add mitzvot. When you add a mitzvot, you're kind of etching out your own religion. By the way, Yom Kippur, the most moving piece of Yom Kippur is the beginning, Kal Nidre, right? Everyone's crying, and the Aliyah goes for $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 for the Sefer Torah. You know what it is, by the way, Kal Nidre? It's the most interesting thing. It's not sorry. People don't know that, by the way. But people think, Kal Nidre, it's Syria. You know what Kal Nidre is? Just to put it in perspective, it's annulling vows. That's all we're doing. We're saying any neder that we made this year, we are annulling them. Well, so why am I paying $75,000 for that? I could do that for free on Saturday night with the rabbi sitting in the front, and I just do it there. Why are we paying so much money? But Kal Nidre is very important as we are entering Yom Kippur, and we know the only chance we have to succeed is because we're part of the Jewish nation. When we're part of the tzibur, we have a much greater chance. If we're alone, finished. And therefore, as we are entering Yom Kippur, we want to make sure that we haven't separated ourselves, even accidentally. So we begin by saying any neder that we made, any vow, any oath that may have put me aside from the rest of the Jewish community, I am annulling that vow. I want to enter back into the Jewish people. That's a very powerful idea. And if that's the case, amazing idea, yeah. If that's the case, we now understand why by a korban it's okay. Because a korban, a sacrifice, is what? Is me going to the temple. That's the hub. That's the center. That's where everybody is. So usually a neder moves me away, excludes me from everybody. But when it comes to the korban, it actually unites me with everybody. And therefore that is the exception when it comes to nedarim. But again, we see the powerful concept of how it's so important to work on our unity, on our Ahavat Yisrael. To receive money, you need a bank account. If I want to wire you money and I say, okay, what's your account number? 917? You want my phone? No, your account number to wire you money. I don't have a bank account. Okay, so I can't send you money. Rabotai, to receive beracha, you need a bank account. You know what that bank account is called? Shalom. If we want beracha, if we want protection, if we want health, if we want safety, if we want shidduchim, if we want children, if we want parnasa, beracha, all the beracha comes into which bank account? Shalom. That's what Aharon gave us. That is what we are mourning as we are entering the month of Av. So it's a beautiful Rosh Chodesh. It's Rosh Chodesh, Shabbat tonight. Let us utilize this time to ask ourselves, who is it that maybe I could find it within myself to promote shalom, to promote the peace. Okay, we'll stop over here. Have a Shabbat shalom, everybody. We'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.